and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liz. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. We use this space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring.
Today, Liz and I are going to explore our perspectives regarding anger. Ooh, anger. What is anger? Similar to our previous recording regarding fear, anger can be, again, a primitive reaction to some kind of threat, whether real or perceived. We can definitely have an innate anger response to whatever it is in our environment, externally or emotionally, that triggers an immediate response. And much like our previous recording regarding fear, we will very likely navigate the journey from what is natural, appropriate anger response and what is maybe a little off the charts and completely inappropriate response to any given situation that might instill anger. And, you know, again, much like fear, anger can keep us safe. It can keep us from harm. It can keep us alert and pay attention to our surroundings. It can also really cloud our judgment, and our perceptions of the situation might be a little blown out of proportion. So I'm looking forward to exploring anger as a protective mechanism and perhaps ways that we can dispel inappropriate anger. What say you, my love?
Well, yes, Lori. People tend to condemn anger.
Yeah.
Anger is just negative, beginning and end of the story. And that is never true. We have to be able to hold a nuanced perspective of anger. And we also have to be able to hold the dichotomy that two seemingly opposing things can both be equally true at the same time. And anger is definitely one of them. So anger in its inappropriate use is an instinctive reaction. It's usually unconscious and it's rageful. It's loud and volatile and out of control and damaging. Anger does and says things that are never beneficial, not only to the person that the anger is being projected out onto, but onto the person who is doing the projecting of the anger in the first place too, because what follows very rapidly in its wake is awful emotional states like guilt and shame that we then wallow in and make ourselves so much less than because of. Then we have to deal with regret. We have to work on apologizing. We have to ask for forgiveness. We have to forgive ourselves. It's a whole horrid mess because of this instant reactivity in its negative use. However, there is a version of anger in its highest expression that is a bodyguard. And I will go back to exploring more of that a little bit later. But for now, the version of anger that rises up as a bodyguard in its highest expression is actually an expression of self-respect. This is an anger that is very quick to go, oh no, It's what honors our boundaries It's what prevents violations.
Right.
It's a form of self-love. And it is very much a chosen response. It is never out of control. It is not loud. It is so strong and so stable and so centered, and it comes with power and it comes with authority, and it just says no. And that is anger in its bodyguard role, which is fantastic. Now, that bodyguard can also get out of control.
Yes.
And this is why anger is a difficult emotion to learn to master. Because a bodyguard that's always on duty, never takes a minute off, never puts in leave, never has a holiday, always on duty, hand on the trigger, ready to go, that bodyguard is actually protecting pain.
Yeah.
That bodyguard is not protecting self-love. That bodyguard is not an expression of self-respect. The bodyguard is always ready and always on alert and always defensive, is actually masking profound pain and usually a lot of fear, which is based, ironically, in powerlessness. So to be in our powerful, positive expression of anger requires using it as a chosen response that comes from self-love, which means we have to already have a core of self-love to begin with. And if what we have at our core instead is mountains and mountains and oceans of pain, then we're going to have a very overworked and overactive bodyguard that uses anger in its negative expression.
And instead of going on an apology tour, trying to pull back all of the words that we can never take back once they're out there, it is absolutely worth the effort to learn to master, not just the anger, but really cultivate that self-love. Like you said, it's essential that we start from a place of love in order to move through the anger, right? We can't really master anything if at the core we don't love and appreciate ourselves, our true authentic alignment and how we want that to play out. If we want that to play out from a place of hurt, well, we probably have a lot of practice doing that. If we want that to play out from a place of feeling helpless and reactionary, I feel like a lot of us have a lot of experience doing that. But if we just kind of come back to center and remember who we are, that's when the energy shifts completely from reactivity to no, that's not okay. I do not consent to that. Just a simple nope. And there's really nothing to say to that other than somebody will very likely respond with okay.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
a very solid
and Lori,
yes with me.
Yeah, and some people are chronically angry.
Yes.
They're never not angry.
Yes.
They're always angry.
Yes.
And you can pick that up no matter how polite or nice or calm they're behaving.
Yes.
You can pick up, it's the vibe that comes off of them. This person is always angry. They could turn on a dime. The smallest thing could trigger them. And the question is why? It's not healthy for us to always be angry.
Right.
That is an overactive defense mechanism. So if we are always angry, then we have to ask ourselves why. Why am I so angry? Who am I so angry at that everything can make me angry and everyone is irritating and everything is an annoyance? Who am I actually angry at? What is my anger actually trying to mask and shield and protect me from? Why do I need this false sense of puffed upness in order to feel strong enough to cope with life and strong enough to confront people and deal with circumstances and situations that I then turn into this volatile, volcanic mess about anyway. It's a chaotic and a disastrous state to live in. So it takes that moment of courage once again to actually get honest with ourselves, to say to ourselves, you know what, I've realized I'm really angry. Very often I'm really, really angry. And whether I act that out, whether I express that or not, if that is my internal reality, then I need to ask myself why. Who am I actually so angry at? And the individual who has the most influence over that, the individual that makes you the angriest, is usually yourself. And in runner-up, really close position, is the person that you haven't forgiven the most. So if ever there's an impetus and a motivation to forgive people, including ourselves, in our lives, it's that. Because who wants to think that the person they struggle the most to forgive is the one that is influencing their lives the most, influencing their ability to simply hold the state of peace and truly love themselves? None of us want that reality. So it doesn't matter if we're coming from that selfish motivation to not give this person any more power over us. We can still achieve the exact same degree of forgiveness and setting ourselves free from that defensive anger response. We don't have to come from a kumbaya, I love you place in order to forgive the person that we need to forgive. It's a conscious choice to no longer give them the ability to have any influence over us. And that can be done from a place of hate if you want to. We've romanticized this idea of forgiveness. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is the key I use to set myself free. It doesn't have to feel warm and fuzzy at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I can be done, I can walk away, and I can be free. And I never have to see or think or speak of you ever again.
Because forgiveness has nothing to do with anybody else, right? That maintaining that anger has nothing to do with that other person. It has everything to do with what you're maintaining and the energy that you're feeding. So likewise, the forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It's rather pulling that energy back from being angry at whatever, an event, a situation, a person, political party, it doesn't really matter, but it's the energy that we're giving in the anger process. And again, even for us to say, no, I'm not doing that to myself anymore. I'm not doing that, and pulling that energy back to self with a simple no to self, and reclaiming that energy that we have spent so much energy being upset with that thing or that person or that situation. How energizing is it to forgive now? All of that energy has come back to self, and just that, I can feel it already lifting. It just, even in concept, it already lifts and elevates life in general. And if we go into the cell and the energy that we carry in our cells, the energy of anger is so heavy. It's so heavy. And to release that, going back to a previous recording, now we've created a void, and now we can fill that in with forgiveness and happiness and joy.
Oh, yes. Yes, because that is what the true concept of forgiveness actually is about. Forgive is another one of these words that we say and use without actually hearing them and without understanding what we're actually saying. Listen to the word forgive.
Yes.
What does it mean that something is for, its reason for existing, something is for giving? It's for giving me what?
Yeah.
What does it come to give me? And that, once again, takes a level of extreme honesty with the self. Things that we struggle to forgive is because we have not allowed ourselves to identify with that thing. We have held ourselves separate from that thing in our mental constructs.
Mm.
Everything exists on a spectrum. So here's this terrible thing that this terrible person did that hurt me terribly, blah, 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 blah. On that spectrum of the terrible thing that the terrible person did that hurt me terribly, blah, 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 blah. Where on that spectrum am I with that same energy? Whatever the material expression of the terrible thing was, what is its essence? What is its energy? Understand where the other was coming from. To make it right, but to understand what is the energy that underlies that deed. And when do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
When am I in that same energy? It may be in a much smaller extent. I may be way down the spectrum from the terrible deed. But nonetheless, the energy of everything exists within me. So what does it come for giving me? It's come for giving me the gift of seeing in grace that this thing exists in me too.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of unforgiveness that I'm expressing out there towards this perceived other is the exact amount of rejection I hold for myself in that same energy stream.
Yeah.
Because I cannot recognize that that thing exists in me too.
Right.
So to ask myself, in what ways am I the same as this thing that I can't forgive? That's why self-forgiveness is so critical to a self-love journey. Because that's the only way we heal this separation. It's the only way that we overcome this conceptual illusion.
And it is a concept, right? Much like fear. It's the perception of betrayal or hurt or whatever we have judged or we have deemed is not right, is not acceptable, is not okay. And really, if we separate that thing and remove the judgment, it's just a thing. It doesn't have to instill anger, and it doesn't have to bring us down so intensely. And it can really just poof, gone. We can kind of, I guess what I'm saying is we can kind of call our own bluff. That this thing that we're judging as bad or wrong or inappropriate or whatever, it is a fig Newton of our imagination. If we remove the
Very
judgment.
often. And even if it was a terrible thing that was done or that happened, again, we don't have to deny the reality of that in order to process through what that experience has come to give us.
Mm-hmm.
And the highest elevation of the use of anger, the truly anger at its highest vibration, is when it's no longer about the self. Analyze your anger and ask yourself, how much of my anger time is for the little me?
Mm-hmm.
Protecting this little me,
Mm-hmm.
my identity, standing up for it, defending it, honoring it, even if it's coming from self-love, it's all about me. How much of my negative anger is a reaction because of something that I perceive is wrong or a judgment or a whatever it might be? How much of my anger and the power that anger is to actually be a bodyguard, how much of that is just for the little self?
Yeah.
How much righteous anger do I hold? How much anger for others, for the injustice in the world?
Mm-hmm.
How much of that anger do I hold and express? Because it's powerful.
Yes.
If we were all a little bit more angry about the things that are actually wrong, we could have a better world. If we allow that anger to motivate us to move.
Yeah.
and to actually create change. But we become complacent. We sit back and we allow it to happen. Because we're so busy expressing anger for the little self that we've got no time or attention to actually exercise in righteous anger for the world and for others. Where are the underdog champions? Where are the saviors of the world? Because if it's not us, I'm not sure who it's going to be.
Yeah.
So anger doesn't need to be judged.
Yeah.
Like all things, anger needs to be embraced, understood, and elevated to its highest potential power, which is world-changing, life-changing, love-expanding. Let it be the bodyguard in its highest potential. Instead of defending me and my little wounds.
Let the
Right?
bodyguard usher in transformation.
Yeah. Abuse should make us angry. Violence, poverty, injustice. These things should make us angry, righteously angry, and that anger should move us. It should give us a sense of purpose for why we're here and what we can change. You know, people always ask little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And one of the best quotes I ever heard, and again, I'm sorry, I can't remember who to credit for this. A girl is 50. But one of the best quotes that I ever heard was, how about we change that? And we start asking little children, one day when you're big, what do you want to change? What would you like to see change? Then we could have a whole generation of people with purpose in their hearts. How amazing would that be?
Change makers.
Yeah, and it can do that for us.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.